Good afternoon, Israel, and good morning, Washington. My name is Odelia. I manage the business development activities for the USA in the Israel Innovation Authority. Thank you all for joining us today. Please note that the webinar is going to be recorded and we will upload it on our YouTube page in a few days. For our agenda today, Dr. Hashim Subidi, the Director of the Catalyst Office at Barda, will present the different programs that are suitable for Israeli companies to partner with Barda. Following that, we will have a Q&A session. After the Q&A sessions, representatives from two Israeli companies, Mehmed and Immunix, will share their experiences regarding their partnerships with Barda and will answer your questions in a Q&A session. You could ask your questions in a dedicated Q&A session and not in the chat. And now I would like to invite Shlomi Kaufman, the VP of the International Divisions at the Israel Innovation Authority, to greet us.
Thank you so much, Odelia. Good morning, Washington. Good afternoon, Israel. Hashim, Tanya, Amir, dear participants. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon and present collaboration opportunities for Israeli industry and companies for R&D and projects with Barda. I want to thank Hashim and his team for the friendship and commitment to work with us and to Immunix and Mehmed that came today to share the participation, their experiences, the good experiences with Barda. And it's very exciting today to be here after so many preparations. We finally have this opportunity for discussion and to see the way forward to have more robust, deeper, and significant collaboration between us and Barda. We in the past collaborated on various programs like pandemic preparedness during COVID-19, when Israeli companies partnered to develop vaccine treatments and diagnostic tools and other. But there are more to do and collaborate in different multiple programs that Barda provided in areas of mutual interest such as emerging infectious diseases, advanced medical technologies, and more. Our partnership not only strengthens both countries' health security, but also contributes to global public health initiatives. We at the Israel Innovation Authority, as part of our task to support the Israeli tech industry, committed not only to financially support projects, but also to provide opportunities on the global stage for R&D and scale. And this opportunity to work and cooperate with Barda is one of the best we have. Again, thank you all for being here. And Odelia, thank you for leading and organizing this event.
Thank you, Shlomi. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Hashim Subidi, the Director of the Catalyst Office at Barda, to present the different programs that could be relevant for Israeli companies.
Thank you, Delia, and I am sharing my screen here. Good afternoon, everyone. I was trying to remember, it was exactly about a year ago when I was in Tel Aviv for Biomed Israel last year. And I knew of a lot of really exciting innovation happening in the Israeli innovation ecosystem, but it's really good to see it in action last year. And again, like I'm hopeful that the future version of this webinar will be like a live session there. So I wish I was there in person, but really glad that you all have joined today. And so I'm excited to present to you the programs that we have and how we can support. Let me just make sure my screen. Are you all seeing the full screen?
No, we can see your screen, Hashim.
Okay, let me quickly fix that then 1 second. You see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, BARDA, we are in the US government Department of Health and Human Services. And within Department of Health and Human Services, a lot of you probably have heard of NIH or FDA. They're all part of HHS as well. And so BARDA is within the Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response within HHS. So ASPR is very similar to NIH and FDA in that it's an operating division within the Department of Health and Human Services. And ASPR's mandate, just like NIH's mandate, is basic research. FDA's mandate is regulation of drug and food and devices and diagnostics. ASPR's mandate is to help the US be prepared for and respond to any public health emergencies. And these public health emergencies could come because of some biological threats, chemical, radiological, nuclear threats, emerging infectious disease, and other things. And so Barda we were founded as an entity in about 2005, 2006, and the goal is to really help develop therapeutics and vaccines, diagnostic devices, other technologies to help us be prepared for the consequences of chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear threats, influenza, pandemic influenza, emerging infectious diseases. So the goal is to really help prevent some of these, help be prepared for, and if it were to happen, these pandemics or others disasters, that we are prepared to respond by these the products that we help develop. And so we really take this public-private partnership model to do all of this. We do not develop the product in-house, right? We are always working with private sector partners, including industry partners, small startups, some academics, large companies, as to really help develop these technologies. And you can see here in the 16 years we've been around, we've gotten 88 products through FDA approval. And so we really are here to develop these technologies products and bring it all the way through FDA approval into the market. Oftentimes, we also procure the product and put it in the national stockpile to use it when needed. We've also had supported international authorizations. Obviously, whenever there is any emergency situation, we're called on. So for Ebola, we're called on and we help license Ebola vaccines. We're called on during monkeypox outbreak, and we developed and provided more than 1 million doses of vaccine. So, and we are also very active, obviously, in the antimicrobial resistance and microbials, and we have invested more than $2 billion and gotten 11 products through FDA approval. And as I said, like the reason we are able to do all of that, like get this product through approval, develop these innovative technologies, is because of our industry partnerships with groups like yours and the two companies that you will hear from in a little bit. And then we also obviously work very closely with our US government partners to really ensure that we're synergizing our efforts and helping develop these technologies. So this is a very simplistic figure. Obviously, product development is not as linear and as simple as this, but the idea is to really show the space we play in. So obviously, a vast majority of what we do is in that advanced research and development. So a company that is either close to clinic or in clinic already, we are here to really help develop that technology further, and oftentimes get it through FDA approval. And as I said, we have our sister organization, the Strategic National Stockpile, that will procure some of the product. And we also have some mechanisms by which we procure the product. But our goal really is to get the product through FDA approval so it's available when and if needed. And then we also have a lot of early stage program to really build that ecosystem and support that early stage innovation. And so what I'll do is I'll give you a flavor of Barda, how it's structured. I'll then talk about a lot of different approaches we use to partner. I'll talk about some of the other programs, and I think you'll benefit from really hearing from MeMed and from Immunux about their experiences and their partnership. So we have 5 divisions that are on the left here. These are the divisions that really support a lot of that product development, and they're divided based on the type of technologies they support and the type of threats they're responding to. The Division of Research, Innovation, and Ventures, that's the early stage innovation division. So that's where we do a lot of like that novel technology development or building of that ecosystem. And then our Pharmaceutical Countermeasures Infrastructure division support a lot of biomanufacturing innovation and building that capability. And then one of the reasons I think we're successful in getting a lot of these products approved and really developing these technologies is because in addition to the money, we also will provide a lot of that regulatory and clinical and non-clinical support to our portfolio companies. And so that I think that's extremely valuable. Obviously, money is needed to really develop a technology, but oftentimes, especially for early stage companies and startups, that expertise you can get on regulatory or clinical, non-clinical development. So whenever any company will partner with us, it comes with all of these resources, so they can always leverage our resources to take the technology forward. So this is in essence all the different ways and types of partnerships we have. And I'll touch on most of them, but sort of in essence, there are few different models. So one is a non-dilutive funding model. So that's where we will give you money without taking any equity or any other sort of IP in the company. So these are our contract mechanisms. So the EZBAA is the early stage funding mechanism where we have $750,000 awards. And then we also have BAA, which is like larger late stage development programs. And these are both R&D contract mechanisms where, again, we are not taking equity, it's non-dilutive. We then have a lot of early stage sort of innovation, incubation, and acceleration programs, and I'll touch on that. The partnership we have with Johnson & Johnson for Blue Knight, the Barda Accelerator Network, and Carvex are the two accelerators that we leverage. We have a decentralized clinical trial network that we are helping set up. We also have a venture partnership, that's the equity investment arm. We also do prizes and challenges, and then we have two consortium-based funding model where a company can join the consortium for free, and there are funding opportunities that are available through the consortium. So I'll touch on all of those. So I'll start with really early stage, right? So I mean, we are really developing and trying to come up with partnership model and approaches to support technology development throughout that pipeline. So that figure I saw from really early stage incubation all the way through FDA approval and commercialization. And so a lot of times a company, when it's just starting, early stage companies, there are few very specific needs. One is like they need incubator space to really incubate the technology. They also need that mentorship and guidance and some early stage funding. And so we built this partnership with Johnson & Johnson about 5 years ago to really support technologies and companies that are in mission space, both for Barda as well as for J&J. So as long as they're on strategy for J&J, on mission for us, these companies are eligible to apply. And what they get is we will subsidize the incubator expense for the companies. They also get mentorship from both J&J and Barda. They have access to a lot of the J&J JLabs ecosystem, Barda's ecosystem. And then we also obviously send companies and provide them visibility. We'll send them to different investor showcases. We'll connect them with investors and partners. And we also, from time to time, do small non-dilutive funding grant programs. And so in Munich, Seth is here. You'll hear from him in a little bit. He's one of the Blue Knight portfolio companies. And he can talk a little bit about some of the benefits and advantages, including the $1 million grant funding that they received last year. If you sort of, taking the journey of the startup from really early stage, once it's incubated, as the company is evolving and growing, the next step is like that acceleration of the company, figuring out what do we need and like what the kind of resources and how do we take our technology forward. And so in 2018, we built a partnership with 13 different accelerators in the US to build the Barda Accelerator Network. And the idea here is to really leverage these accelerators to help us source companies, to do a lot of outreach, get our word out, but also to provide that wraparound accelerator services to companies, to run some accelerator cohorts, to understand like what are some of the gaps and needs in the industry and the needs for the startups. And so this current iteration of the network ended recently, and we just in fact launched the second next generation of the Barda Accelerator Network, where we're moving away from that, the 13 accelerator model to more of a hub model. So we are going to fund 5 specific hubs on specific technology area, and these accelerators provide resources, including that wraparound accelerator services, product development funding, as well as rapid response capability in these specific areas. We announced and launched the first of the 2 hubs. The other 3 will be launched later this summer. The first one is the diagnostics and medical devices hub. And so we're partnering with a consortium called iCreate with 3 partners: University Lab Partners based in California, CIMIT based in Boston, and Science Exchange, which is a global marketplace. And so this hub is launched, and they're actively there to support companies. The therapeutic and vaccine hub is the Vital hub. And again, this one also we launched about a month ago. It is led by a group called Start2, which is in fact a US subsidiary of a group based in Europe, out of Germany. They used to be called German Entrepreneurship. They have rebranded to Start to Group. They're partnering with ACI, which is another advisory group based in Boston, and Biolabs, which is a network of incubators globally. And so again, they are also open for business. And in fact, they have a prize challenge open right now that closes June 7th on broader vaccine and therapeutic platforms. So if you all are developing novel, innovative vaccine platforms or any of the other technologies in this area, you should definitely check it out and apply. The pitch event is going to be in Berlin in late June. Yeah, we can share the information around, but these are the kind of things that these hubs will be doing, which is again, running cohorts to accelerator cohort to support portfolio companies, to companies in developing therapeutic vaccine in this case. But they'll also be running early stage, small feasibility proof of concept funding programs. And so just definitely keep an eye out for these opportunities. CarbX is our antibacterial accelerator that we launched 6-7 years ago. This is now a partnership with a few others funders, including Gates Foundation, NIH, Novo Nordisk Foundation, and others. And this is very much focused on antibacterial development. And so really early stage sort of development through phase 1 clinical trial. And you can see how so many products have been funded and several of them have moved on to clinical trials now. About 2 years ago, we created a venture partnership. And so this is a typical venture model. Our role in that is we're in a sense a anchor LP in this fund. And so if you see here in the next slide, we provided $200 million into the fund. Global Health Investment Corporation is the general partner that is running this fund. They will raise money from other LPs to create a $500 million global health security fund. And this global health security fund will then invest in mission relevant portfolio companies for Barda. And so they've already, in fact, making investments. They have 13 portfolio companies so far. Again, really developing portfolio of companies that are developing platform technologies that are relevant in Barda's mission space. And if you look, they have invested $55 million of the fund money, and there have been more than $1 billion in that syndicate level investment. So the Global Health Investment Corporation is the venture partner that will make the investments, but it's a typical venture fund, right? So it's like an equity investment model, very agnostic in terms of stage of development. They have done seed to Series D. The typical check size so far has been between 5 to 10 million, but now that the fund size is bigger, they might go higher. The lead rounds, they will follow. But yeah, I mean, the only requirement is that a company has to be developing technologies that has some Barda relevance. Again, platform technologies are totally fine, and we in fact encourage platform technology to other use cases as well. But the idea is that there is some Barda relevant use case. And then the way the fund is structured, it is an evergreen fund. So all of the returns from our portion of the investment will keep getting reinvested in future Barda relevant companies. So I talked about the non-dilutive funding. So, I talked about the incubation program. I talked about the accelerator programs. I talked about the venture investment. So now the non-dilutive, that's the vast majority of how we spend our money. That's the bread and butter of what we do. These are non-dilutive R&D contract mechanisms. 2 different programs, one on the early stage, if you are developing technology that is sort of more early stage, you're doing some sort of de-risking, either of technology de-risking or regulatory de-risking or market de-risking. We'll provide up to $750,000 with the potential for up to $20 million in follow-on funding. Very similar to DARPA-like model, where the first step is a quick abstract. You get thumbs up, thumbs down. You submit your full proposal. We review quickly. Our goal is to try to get money to you in 3 to 4 months. And then we usually fund with specific focus areas. So we have specific programs we call out with areas of interest. And if you fit into one of these, then you can apply and receive funding. 2 companies here, the 2 logos are MeMed, which you'll hear from in a little bit, and BioBeat are 2 companies, Israel-based companies that have received funding through this model. And then the broad agency announcement, this is our biggest sort of funding program. These are like 10, 50, 100, $200 million contracts to really develop a product all the way through FDA approval. On the left, you'll see the areas of interest. These are all the areas we are interested in. You can go and find exactly what we're looking for. Similar process, you submit a white paper, you get feedback, and you submit a full proposal. It takes a little longer here. It's like $1 dollar amount. But if you get funded, then yeah, obviously you get the money, but you also get all the resources like the expertise that I talked about. And MediWound is an Israel-based company that we have funded to get their product through FDA approval with this mechanism. And then I talked about the consortium-based model. And so we have two consortium that we have set up. One is called Rapid Response Partnering Vehicle, and another is called BioMap, Biomanufacturing Focus Consortium. The very similar in the sense that these are again R&D contract funding mechanisms. So these are non-dilutive funding. So oftentimes we'll put out a call for a specific funding opportunity, and all of the members of the consortium are eligible to apply. The idea is to really again do quick funding through this mechanism. So I would encourage you all to join this consortium. It's free to join. Rapid Response Partnering Vehicle is just general product development within Barda mission space. And then Biomanufacturing Focus Consortium is more biomanufacturing focused, but both of them, very similar model where you join the consortium, funding opportunities are available, and then you sort of kind of apply and will get funded through the consortium. Free to join, so definitely check it out. So how do you engage with us? I mean, we are obviously available in looking to interact, engage with companies that are working in our mission space. Unlike some of the other U.S. government programs, we are agnostic to where the company is located because of the global nature of what we are trying to develop. So if you all have exciting, innovative technologies that fits within the programs that we have. 3 ways you can reach out. You could just reach out to the program team and say, hey, I want to schedule a 30-minute call to tell you about what we're working on and see if it's the right fit. You can schedule what's called a tech watch. We have a portal where you can go and submit your request. These are hour-long or 30-minute call. Tech watch, we invite other federal government partners. More relevant if you're a little more later stage in your development and you have a very clear idea of like what you would like to apply for. But yeah, again, like just we encourage you to reach out. We're always here to sort of talk to you about your technology and if it's the right fit. I would encourage you also to, we put out a 5-year strategic plan last year, I guess 2 years now, where we very clearly articulate the kind of things that we are interested in. So I would encourage you to take a look at it if you are trying to figure out like what is Barda interested in. And yeah, just reach out. These are all our ways of communication. Obviously, you'll all get the slides, and feel free to sort of reach out and schedule this the market research scholar tech was to learn more. For those of you who will be at the Bio International Convention next week, I will be there. So will be a few other Barda folks. So feel free to find me in the partnering system or just send me an email, and happy to try to meet in person if you are there. And that's all I have. So I'll stop there and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Hashim, for the presentations. We received a few questions. We have a company that would like to know if a medical device in the field of chest drainage would be relevant for one of your programs.
So it depends on the specific use case. We have to have a clear, relevant use case. I'm trying to imagine how it could be used. I mean, I can see a little more of that use for our Department of Defense, like Army and Navy and that community. And so what we tend to focus on, even though we're talking about biosecurity, this is thinking of like sort of biosecurity more from public perspective, right? So if there is a pandemic or if there is a chemical or radiological nuclear sort of threat, how do we deal and take care of the entire US population? Our Department of Defense colleagues have similar programs in lots of different ways where the focus is on the Army population. So a lot of the programs that, might not be a fit for us, might still be fit for DoD programs. And so, yeah, I can send some links later on, and I'm happy to sort of talk to some of that. But yeah, just trainers might not be the right fit for us.
Thank you. Another company would like to know, they're inventing filter antibacterial and antiviruses for all air conditioning systems, which are good for plane and shelters. And they would like to know if it could be relevant for any of your programs.
Yeah, so we have been thinking about it, but we don't have a program on the air sort of system, and definitely a very important area. ARPA-H, which is another U.S. government entity, in fact, just launched a program about a month ago that is very relevant. So I would encourage you to go check it out. I think the program is called Breathe. But yeah, if you go check it out, they have an active program right now on some of these air ventilation systems.
Are you interested in biological medicine for liver cancer?
What is the indication? Oh, liver cancer. Yeah, no, unfortunately, we do not do cancer. We have supported some companies that have a platform where one of the application is in oncology or cancer, right? I mean, that's fine. Like, we are okay with those approaches. So in Blue Knight, for example, a lot of companies have technologies that have multiple uses. And so from a commercial development perspective, they are focusing on some of that more commercially attractive assets. But then, they're also working on things that we typically care about. And Seth can touch on that a little bit. I think, sort of that would be relevant. But yeah, we do not fund a project for other indications that is not in our relevant mission space. The National Cancer Institute at NIH has some programs around that, and yeah, I would encourage you to sort of look into them.
There is a startup that created a personalized preventive diagnostics for sudden cardiac arrest. They developed a medical device and a non-invasive diagnosis to allocate those individuals that are at high risk. And they would like to know if this kind of development could be interesting for you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like, our interest primarily lies in chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear threats, emerging infectious diseases, and pathogens, right? So a lot of times, a lot of these infectious agents lead to some cardiac conditions. They will lead to inflammation, ARDS, sepsis, and other things. And so we obviously care about dealing with the pathogen. There are approaches and programs like either, direct antivirals and antibacterials. And the other approach is you can target the syndrome that it lead to, right? Either ARDS or sepsis, cardiac sort of syndrome. So if we are sort of dealing with more about, like, okay, if there's an acute infection or there is a nuclear radiological sort of threat, and because of that, there are conditions that, would lead to death, like, we would care about it from that angle. But like, if it's a general, like, hey, we are going to tell just general population the risk of cardiac arrest, like, we obviously, unfortunately, do not. I'm not very important again, but we don't fund things in that space. National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute within NIH is the agency that does a lot of that. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's important to note that the U.S. government has a lot of these early stage as well as late stage R&D funding programs and product development. NIH has a lot, mostly on the early stage, but they do support a lot of clinical trials, and they have very specific focus organs areas or disease areas they're divided by. And so there are 27 different institutes with specific focus. So I would encourage you to look into NIH. If it's a pure defense, Army kind of, approaches, then Department of Defense. ARPA is now, they are again going to be very much focused on specific programs, but they have a lot of programs out. Similarly, DARPA does like some biotechnology focused work. And then we do very specific focus work on the sort of these seaborne and emerging infectious diseases space.
Do you have a focus in oncology medical device for treatment in terms of equity investment through your venture fund?
So it's the same thing with venture fund. We obviously would look at a platform technology as long as there is some Barda relevant use case, right? And so the 13 investments we have done, pretty much most of them have other use cases, and that's totally fine. We in fact like that. As a venture fund, obviously we're looking to make investments in a company where there will be some commercial return. So if it's a platform technology that would work for oncology, but also could work for infectious diseases and our use case, that's fine, right? An example of an investment is we've invested in a company called BioLink that has a sensor technology where it does continuous glucose monitoring. And so we've invested in the company. Obviously, we don't fund diabetes and sort of glucose monitoring, but the same sensor and same technology can be relevant for monitoring infectious disease markers or immune markers. And so because of that potential, it's a relevant investment. So it's similar approach, like where it's a platform technology where it has oncology indication use case, but also could be useful for Barda element use case, then would be okay with that.
I saw that Tanya from our panel had a question. Okay, it was an error. Okay, it was a mistake. Does diagnostic in mental health are of any interest for Barda?
Yeah, so no, unfortunately, as I said, very specific use case for us, National Institute in Mental Health, NIMH at NIH, and then would be the right agency for that.
Do you fund POC projects?
What products? What is it?
POC, proof of concept?
Yeah. So we do have a lot of proof of concept funding programs, right? So as I mentioned, the $750,000 award are early stage de-risking of both either technology de-risking, in some cases that's more of regulatory de-risking. So we do have some later stage work that we support, and Tanya and Amir can talk about their work, which is a little sort of later stage. But we do support a lot of early stage proof of concept feasibility, either through the BlueNet program, Barda Accelerator Network, as well as that $750,000 EGBA award.
There is a company that identified a biomarker to student cardiac arrest, and they developed a medical device for asymptomatic patients. Actually, it's similar to the one that we previously talked about. So I guess that it could be relevant for Barda projects.
It depends on, what exact use case and how it's being used.
Okay. Do you have a specific program for biopharma company that develop EVS for regeneration of CNS neurons?
Yeah, so extracellular vesicles, obviously, as a platform, has a lot of potential use case that could be relevant for different things, right? I recently talked to a company that is using EV for delivery of their siRNAs and other approaches. So if it's like using EVs for something that we would care about, yes, it would be relevant. CNS indications, again, like we don't care about it. We just don't fund that. There is some cases where we might be interested in it if it's like, exposure to nerve agent, and we have to sort of block some of that, or some other traumatic brain injury because of burn and blast or sort of nuclear detonation. Like in those cases, we might be interested. But if it's just a general, like, CNS indications, that's not in our space.
And would you be interested in a technology that measures how much milk as a baby drank while breastfeeding? And he's asking these questions knowing that one of the best way to feed infants in terms of during emergency is through breastfeeding.
Yeah, so it's a much of a stretch on, but yeah, we wouldn't fund something like that. Yeah, obviously, clear need. The NICSD is the NIH agency that does some of that work. So I'm looking at them.
Are you investing in development biological medical devices for treatment in Parkinson and dementia?
Yeah, we do not. That's, again, not a public health emergency relevant indication. NINDS, National Institute of Neurological Disorder and Stroke within NIH is the relevant group there.
And do you have any ongoing projects or plans that are related to the integration of new brain data technologies?
No, yeah. I mean, maybe what I can do is I could, Adelia, like a lot of these questions seem very specific. I can take a look and maybe even type the answer because I think there is value in people to hear from Seth and Tanya and Amir on some of those approaches. If you have any question, feel free to email. I can share my email as well. Like if it's a very specific, like, hey, my company does this, like what about, are we relevant?
Yeah, those are very specific questions regarding their project, that's right. Could you just maybe explain what should the application to you include?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what the application looks like, what it should include, it depends on, again, the program. Like, I mean, I talked about all the different approaches we fund. The Blue Light program is we'll take any company and we will subsidize the incubator cost. We also have virtual programming. But then the funding program there is very specific, open to only the portfolio companies, right? And the application there looks different from the accelerator network, that Pride Challenge we currently have open. Again, that's going to look different from the EGBA $750,000 award, where it's like a 1 to 2 page abstract with the first step, followed by a full proposal, which asks a bunch of different questions. So it depends on the specific application or the funding opportunity as to like what exactly the application should look like. In terms of, if you want to reach out and, sort of ask questions, I would just, send like a 1-pager or deck or very clearly say, here's what we're working on. Is it relevant or not? I would encourage you to check out our website that clearly articulates these are the space we are interested in, right? And so if it's relevant there, then it's relevant. If it's questionable, then you should definitely feel free to email.
Thank you so much, Hashim. Actually, we got a lot of feedback that the deck was very detailed and informative. So thank you. Thank you, Hashim. Now I would like to introduce Tanya Gottlieb and Amir Nakar from the Mehmet company, together with Seth Salpeter from Immunix, who are here today to share their experiences about the current partnerships that they have with Barda. Tanya and Amir are one of the ex-BAA supported companies by Barda, and Seth is one of the Blue Knight companies of Barda. Could you please each one introduce yourselves and provide a quick overview of your company? Let's start with Tanya.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this webinar on behalf of MeMed. So my name's Tanya Gottlieb. My role at the company is to lead scientific affairs. And one of our responsibilities of me and my team is to identify grant opportunities, put together the applications, and then in the event we are successful, to manage the contracts. And in a moment, you'll also meet Amir. So at MeMed, we decode the signals of the body's immune system to generate insights that help clinicians make more informed treatment decisions. And we do this by combining machine learning with omics to develop actionable diagnostics that address key clinical and medical challenges in infectious diseases. So just a few words about MeMed. We were founded in 2009. We have headquarters in Israel and offices in Boston, US. And we've raised over 100 million from investors and have been awarded over 30 million in grants from the European Commission, from the US Department of Defense, and also from Barda. So we have an interdisciplinary team that covers discovery to commercialization. So just a word about our product so that we can explain the contract that we've got with Barda right now. So our lead product, we started with a seemingly simple problem. A child or adult arrives at the doctor with suspected infection. Does the patient have a bacterial or a viral infection? So MeMed BV, which is an FDA-cleared host immune response diagnostic test, helps resolve this dilemma in real time. So we have had the privilege of being awarded a contract under the EZBAA Barda program. The overall goal of the contract is to establish the clinical utility of MeMed-BV in adult patients presenting to the emergency department or urgent care center with suspected lower respiratory tract infection. And the scope of work for our contract includes a clinical trial to establish this clinical utility. So now I'll pass it over to Amir to introduce himself, if that's okay with you.
Thanks, Tanya. I'll try and be quick. My name is Amir. I work with Tanya at MeMed. A lot of my work is about finding grant opportunities. For example, with Barda, writing a grant, communicating with the different entities, and also now managing the project together with Barda, managing the contract, part of the negotiation. So I'd love to have any questions.
Great. So nice to be here. I'm Seth Salpeter, co-founder and CEO of Immunix. We co-founded Immunix about 3 years ago, initially out of the VLX incubator, spin-off based on technology from the Hebrew University, focused on modulating the toxic activity of the neutrophil. So over the last 3 years, we've been developing therapeutics that effectively change the neutrophil's toxic activity in disease. We're working on various areas of interest, but about a year, maybe a little over a year ago, we were accepted to the Blue Knight program, which is a collaboration that Ashim talked about between Johnson & Johnson, or JLabs, which is Johnson & Johnson Innovation, and Barda. And as part of that program, we were focusing on modulating neutrophils in host response, particularly around infectious diseases. And then this project was furthered when last summer we were awarded a Project NextGen grant. So Barda has a very broad mandate by the US government around something called Project NextGen, which is to drive forward the next generation of, I would say, threats, I think, ways to protect it against threats. And some of that funding was designated as for Blue Knight companies. So we received a Blue Knight Project NextGen award as part of that. And so we've been focusing our activities around neutrophil modulation, not only broadly in infectious disease, but also around specifically COVID as part of the NextGen grant. In general, we've been very involved in the Blue Knight program and working together with Ashim, his team, and also the Johnson & Johnson team as well throughout that process, and continuing part of what we've been doing with them, and also and our broader mandate around neutrophil modulation and disease.
Thank you for the intro. Could you please share your experience with the application process? Were there any challenges or key considerations during the application process?
So I'll speak about Blue Knight, which is different, I guess, than the MeMed program. So as Ashim mentioned, Barda has a lot of different opportunities, many. And so it's really, really important from what I've seen, not only as part of the Blue Knight process, but also continuing to monitor what's going on with the different Blue Knight, with the different Barda programs, that it be very, very much tailored to what they're looking for. So these are very, very detailed grants, and they have to really, really very much meet what the particular opportunity is looking for. So I can only speak specifically to the Blue Knight program, which is what we applied for and we received. So the Blue Knight program, as was kind of briefly detailed, is a very early stage program. And I think there might be actually later stage programs or companies involved in it as well, but it gives the opportunity for earlier stage companies. And it has a lot of flexibility in terms of what you might be proposing. So I think it's really important, and there's a lot of interaction with Dave Winter, who I think is also on this call, in terms of really coming up with a very, very, very detailed program about what you're supposed to be providing, and trying to really match what Barda is asking for to what your technology is. So I think that most of these things are not where you can kind of, let's say, wing it or try and bring something that isn't a fit. You really have to focus on the fit, and then go very, very deep into the fit. So, I mean, we may get to that in a few minutes, but I think that's really critical.
And Tanya and Amir, from your experience, how was the application process?
So I think first of all, everything that Seth said is I want to completely support what he said. It has to be a very good, very accurate fit to what the call is looking for. So we applied for the EZBAA program. I was also quite surprised at how many different pathways Barda has for supporting innovation. And we actually found out about it because we went to the Barda Industry Day a year ago. And during Barda Industry Day, they gave several presentations. One of them was by Hashim, actually. And they spoke about this new EZBAA mechanism and the focused areas. And we saw that this could be a very good fit. We applied for I might be getting my terminology wrong, the market research call. It was very, very easy. You just went on the website, you input a few details, and then we got a chance to talk to Barda, and it was very, very useful. And we already had a project planned out. We wanted to see if we can do it together with support from Barda. We presented it to them. And from then, it's a very structured process. So we had to submit an abstract with an SOW, statement of work, and a deck that explains the project and a budget. Again, it needs to be detailed. It needs to be accurate. I was just looking into the timeline. So for us in the EZBAA, I think we got the first green light in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. Then we needed to provide more details. We did that. And within a few months, we got into negotiations, and then we signed the contract, and we started actively working together with Barda.
And in what ways do you feel that the collaboration with Barda enhance your company's capabilities or your market positions?
Tanya?
Sure, I can take that one. So first of all, I'd like to say that we benefit greatly from the expertise and experience of each of the Barda members that we interact with. And we have a monthly meeting with a team of subject matter experts, and they talk to us about the project and they give us feedback. And this has been a great source of support, actually, in our project. So that's one area that it's been very helpful. More generally, I would say that getting support from a US government agency is a kind of validation of the team and, importantly, of the relevance of the technology to the US population. And obviously, this is relevant to your sort of messaging and market position. And then, of course, there's the funding. I mean, bringing, the goal of having adoption of a new diagnostic technology that actually requires a change in medical practice is really a difficult challenge. And it can't be done alone by a startup or even a slightly scaling startup. You need the help of strategic partners and of partners like Barda to work with you on getting your tests to be accepted in the long term, hopefully into routine care. So big help working with Barda.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. The subject matter experts are a big part of the assistance. So Barda has connections to basically everywhere in the US government. So you could think of any consultant or even CROs, because the NIH can offer actual experiments that they can run for you. So think of any regulatory consultant, any CMC consultant, any CRO. Essentially, Barda is a portal to getting all those opportunities supported as part of their network, and they basically know everything about almost any type of development. So that's a really very powerful resource. And I would say maybe one thing to add on to that is there is obviously validation by having U.S. government funding, but I think more than the validation, again, it's like a portal, right? So you are now become involved in this network where you're exposed to many opportunities. So first of all, the Barda opportunities alone are quite expansive, and then sometimes as an outsider, it's hard to understand them. So once you're in the network and you spend time understanding and really sitting and clarifying what they mean. So as you know, the areas of interest are not necessarily obvious. So you have to really spend time and sit on it and understand what the intention is, and understanding the people in Barda really helps. So we've now progressed in I think on multiple occasions, now being able to further our collaborations and funding, and then they can connect you to other people in different networks and they'll help you understand what's going on at conferences, at Barda Industry Day, at there's a Blue Night conference which is on Sunday in San Diego before Bio. So it's a whole network of opportunities. So I would also say that even a small thing to enter into the network in some way, even if it's not like a BAA, but I think it can be very, very valuable because once you're in, then it opens up an entire world of opportunities and more things will follow. So it's worth it to put in the time to understand what's going on in each of these programs. And even if it seems like it's something small, it's really very beneficial long-term.
Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A section. Meanwhile, I would like to ask you if you have any tip for people, for Israeli companies that consider partnering with Barda.
So I can answer that one first. So first of all, I would say I'd second what was just explained, that it is a huge opportunity and it's worth all of the effort. And it is quite a bit of effort to like was mentioned, to sort of understand what they're looking for and make sure that you have a fit, and then to sort of understand the application process. But once you've done that, it's really worth it. So my tip is to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I see the last question just in the Q&A, just as an example. So my tip would be, you have to really sit down on the Barda website for like a few hours, right? Like a lot of people ask Hashim a lot of questions here, which is easy, and I understand like it's a webinar, but you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to spend now 3 or 4 hours reading through this website. In the beginning, you might not understand it, and you might have to email Hashim, or you could email us even if you need a little help, and to try and get into it. The whole system in the U.S. and the U.S. grants is very exact, right? They want a really, really good match. It's not like some of the programs that the IAA offers, where it's open, and if you have a good idea and it makes sense, they'll match you up and listen to it. If you're not doing what they're asking for a specific call, even if you're doing something that they're asking for, but it's the wrong call, it won't be good. So I would say really, really sit there. And then the other thing, which Hashim mentioned also, is they have this program called TechWatch. Now, TechWatch, what it is that you apply, basically, it takes about 3 or 4 months to get a meeting, and they bring 10 experts for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and they'll answer, they'll basically try and you can present to them what you're doing. And it's really important to understand what Barda is looking for and present your technology in that light beforehand. So again, if you're working on cancer or whatever, so figure out a way that your technology could work for something that Barda wants, right? Don't tell them that you're doing cancer, right? So it doesn't always work. But you have to be creative and you have to be dedicated to what they actually want. So the step would be, number one, spend a lot of time on the Barda website, be in contact with people who understand once you have started, right? And then number two, try and set up a TechWatch, go to Barda Industry Day, go to the Blue Night Day. It might take a while till you start to see this paying off, but it's like a project. So, in 6 to 12 months, you might see results.
We just received another question that maybe Amir would like to take. Someone is asking, how long does the process take from end to end? And did you use any external companies as consultants for the submissions?
Yeah, so actually Tanya might be better for this, but I will mention that we've applied to Barda several times and through different processes. For the Easy BAA, I think it took us, so we did the first application in March or April, and then we entered negotiation in June, for like 2-3 months, and then we had a contract in September. That was the timeline. Did we use a consultant? Yes, we used an excellent legal consultant, because once you get a contract from Barda, you should be able to completely understand it, understand all the obligations, understand different bars in the US code. And I think, especially for an Israeli company, you should have a specialist consultant reviewing the contract with you, providing feedback, making suggestions. We've made some alterations to the contract, and that was a very important part for us. Tanya, anything I missed?
No, I think we need it's very important to have a legal consultant, and then also you may need one for your finance department, again, depending on the mechanism of funding of the contract. I'd just like to emphasize that the EasyBA is unique in its speed, right? So the BAA, the larger one, is a much longer process, and the negotiations can take a much longer time, and there can be all kinds of other processes that get pulled in. So when you're taking Seth's advice and you're deciding on what to do with the match for the call, you might also want to think about the kind of turnaround time of the process that you're applying to, and how that fits in with your project and with your, your Gantt for what you're doing, and how long it may take you until you're under the award.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, just quickly about Blue Knight. Blue Knight is very different. So this is kind of a flexible call, right? It pops up the ability to apply for Blue Knight every now and then, or by invitation. Maybe Ashim can also or Dave can comment on that a little bit better. The process is really by it's not rolling. It's for a call. There are I guess for the grants within Blue Knight, but it moves pretty quickly once you've contacted them, and the funding is provided pretty quickly. The contracts are relatively straightforward. Of course, legal has to review them, but I think it's a little bit easier than the BA or the EasyBA. Again, it's program dependent, so you have to really understand each case by its own.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your very insightful answers and for sharing your experiences. This will conclude our webinar for today. Thank you to all of our speakers, the Barda team, Ashim and David for your support, Tanya, Amir and Seth and participants for joining us. The recording of the webinar will be available on our YouTube page very soon in a few days. If you have any further questions or need additional information, please feel free to contact us at the IEA or directly to Barda. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.